The rocks and other items were gathered from other locations, loaded in a truck, and then driven to overpasses to throw them over.
I'm sorry to the victim's mom that her son had to get shot because I didn't even know he was going to get shot.
Okay, right now you're going to get killed. Okay? You have to go to the right. Hey, call the police.
Have you ever seen a young adult, child, whatever we want to call Rachel, show such gross disrespect?
Teens going on trial isn't a novel phenomenon on court cam. In the modern world, crimes and being grown up are not synonymous. It's quite shocking to find that some teenagers are often as stone-hearted as some hardcore criminal elements. In this video, a few teenagers are on trial for manslaughter. Shocking, isn't it?
Fifth defendant, 19-year-old Kyle Anger, has already pled guilty as an adult to second-degree murder. The teens threw a 6-pound rock off a highway overpass, puncturing the windshield of a passing car, striking White in the head.
When teenagers commit such crimes, the legal proceedings are often tricky, seeing as they're not full adults. However, the gravity of the crime may demand an alternative approach. In this case, the defendants approved to have found a solution to this dilemma.
The 4 defendants all agreed to plead guilty to manslaughter with one stipulation: that they be tried as juveniles, not adults. Judge Joseph Farah is tasked with accepting or rejecting that stipulation.
However, they're in for the shock of their lives. The context of the crime they're being prosecuted for may call for juvenile sentencing. However, in this case, the context used extends beyond that. The judge calls attention to the entire context, as the rest of the court was not in shock. In truth, it's quite shocking for everyone in attendance, and for anyone who will review the case in future.
There wasn't one event, nor was it done at a single location. The rocks and other items were gathered from other locations, loaded in a truck, and then driven to overpasses to throw them over. Also thrown at other times at other locations: tire irons, a muffler, a shopping cart.
The evidence is damning, and the writing appears to be on the wall for the defendants. It's not simply a matter of a one-time offense. It's a repeated one, and one clearly done with ill intent. The judge's statements here reveal more shocking insight.
What was the purpose in this game called overpassing? And when did it stop? When somebody was killed.
Additionally, the teens made light of the horrific crime through dozens of heartless Snapchat messages.
51 times the letters LOL, LMAO, or haha appear in the messages, and many after it was learned that they had killed somebody.
The end result is hardly surprising, given the shocking context that has just come to light. They may be teens, but their actions speak of bad intent. What drives the final nail in their coffin is the fact that they've apparently made a joke of the matter. People's lives are at stake.
The proposal for juvenile sentencing is rejected.
Once that decision is issued, the 4 defendants withdraw their guilty plea and choose to go to trial.
Dating apps aren't always what they seem. Beyond the obvious flirting, there's a shady underground that one hopes never to be exposed to, or be a victim of. In this video, a Florida case involving 18-year-old Kyadria Cook has her facing the court for sentencing for setting up a robbery via a dating app.
Cook's in court today to receive a sentence for using a dating app to set up a robbery that ended with another teen being shot. The teen survived. Cook has accepted a plea deal that will drop a conspiracy charge, but counts of carjacking, attempted carjacking with a deadly weapon, and felony battery are still in play.
I'm sorry to the victim's mom that her son had to get shot because I didn't even know he was going to get shot. My boyfriend and his friends threatened me to do this. I just want to say I asked them for forgiveness for a second chance so I can get out and finish school and I can keep my mama proud. That's it.
Miss Cook has said her last words. and now she eagerly awaits her sentencing. What happens next is intense enough to draw pity from anyone.
This was intentional. It was an orchestrated ambush, and you are a main part of that. And for that, I'm going to go ahead and adjudicate you guilty of all 3 charges, sentence you to 20 years in state prison.
However, things will soon take a unique turn. A miscommunication in the terms of the plea deal mean that Miss Cook and her mother are shocked. It's a lesson hard learned by Miss Cook.
I think you got good in you, and I think you got potential. Don't lose sight of that.
Cook's sentence is reduced to 11 years in prison.
Teenage impulsiveness is and can be a big problem if not adequately dealt with. It can make them erratic and make the wrong decisions that they come to regret later in life. In this video, Matthews, a 17-year-old, is due for sentencing on minor charges. Perhaps he's simply rebellious, or he's freaking out. His actions here are the deeds of an impulsive youth who's uninterested in facing the repercussions of his actions and seeks a shortcut out.
I'm sorry for, acting immature on the road. I understand that, being on the road, you do have other people's lives in your hand. And, I should have thought about that.
When defendant Cyrus Matthews was there on misdemeanor charges stemming from a road rage case.
As well as is there any way that we can reverse this jail time? Well, you're going to have to go to jail today. You need to get out there and take care of what you consider furloughs. Okay, right now you're going to go to jail right now. Okay? You have to go today, right? Hey, call the police. Have him charged with felony escape if he doesn't get back to this.
Cyrus Matthews only has a misdemeanor charge to deal with. It's going to be a light sentence, but he's having none of it and decides to make a break for it. His impulsiveness and rashness comes to a new head in this clip, where he's apparently of 2 minds. However, only one side will win out.
Matthews' girlfriend follows him out. There seems to be a moment of hesitation here on Matthews' part. We now know it's the bailiff trying to reason with him, explaining that his escape will lead to felony charges. To no avail. Now, the Wadsworth police take over.
Mr. Matthews is on the run, and the chase is on. It's only going to end one way for Mr. Matthews, given his line of action. Perhaps his shaky resolve stilled at the sight of his girlfriend and her willingness to run away with him. But Mr. Matthews has made a serious choice here, one with equally severe consequences.
Matthews is way ahead, reaching speeds of up to 90 miles an hour. Officer James Walzer's receiving updates.
I saw him turn north onto Lyman from Maple. He was in an older gray four-door vehicle.
28, he's not. He's running red lights at Hartman. Passing on the right at Williams Reserve. My speed's 90, trying to catch up. Wadsworth, I think we're going to have a code 2. We're going to have a code 2 at Akron, 76.
Matthews has crashed into a white SUV, seen just off the road there.
Teenage cases on court cam don't all involve criminal matters. What happens when family ties cannot hold anymore? What happens when the ties that were supposed to bind subsequently become the rope through which to hang one? In this video, Rachel Canning, an 18-year-old, is suing her parents. The reasons are as jaw-dropping as they are amusing.
The plaintiff is 18-year-old Rachel Canning. The defendants? Her own parents. The teen who claims she was verbally abused and kicked out of the home is suing them for financial support. She's seeking $654 per week to cover private school and college tuition and payment of her legal bills. The parents claim Rachel made her own decision to leave home, and as such, they're not responsible for her bills. Even though Canning's 18, she claims she's not an emancipated adult and is still dependent on her parents.
This matter is much more complicated than it appears, though. There are several factors at play here, each one directly contributing to the parents' stance, and Miss Rachel's demands for support despite the fact that she's elected to go her own way. In fact, it appears that her divergent behavior is her association with a wayward boyfriend. The findings are truly stunning.
The young lady who is in court has an alleged history of staying out during the week from 12 to 1 o'clock, drinking, was brought home one night by a male friend's parent at 3 o'clock, intoxicated, school suspensions, was stripped of her captaincy as a cheerleader, was removed from the campus ministry.
I don't think what the Canning is saying is true.
According to Canning, the verbal abuse she suffered at home was so bad, her private high school supported her decision to leave.
They have been behind this move.
The plaintiff's demands for an emergency relief fund continues, spearheaded by her lawyer and representative, who makes a fairly compelling case. However, there was only going to be one outcome in this scenario. The judge's statements here echo most of the thoughts of any neutral.
Have you ever seen a young adult, child, whatever we want to call Rachel, show such gross disrespect for a parent? The words that were used in a voicemail to her mother?
Despite her lawyer's objections, the judge comes to a final decision, and it's not what Miss Rachel hoped for. One certainly cannot choose one's own parents, the same way parents cannot choose their kids. However, they can only try to steer them right, with the final choice being the kids to make. One can't help but wonder how this family will be in the years to come.
All requests at this time for emergency relief are denied.
Canning eventually returns home and later drops the lawsuit. And in case you're wondering, she did break up with the boyfriend.
She's always going to be your daughter, no matter what happens.